The pebble in the shoe. James was in a rush. His day was packed with meetings, deadlines, and obligations. His mind raced from task to task as he hurried down the busy city street. The sky was a hazy gray, and the cold breeze cut through his jacket. But in the midst of it all, there was a persistent discomfort, a small pebble stuck in his left shoe. At first, he tried to ignore it. The pebble was tiny, barely noticeable, and he convinced himself that it wasn't worth the effort to stop. But with each step, it rubbed against the side of his foot, a sharp irritation that grew more pronounced with every stride. By the time he reached the subway station, the discomfort was unbearable. He paused, trying to discreetly shake his foot, hoping the pebble would dislodge. It didn't. James sighed. He had a meeting in 15 minutes. He couldn't afford to be late. He quickly checked his watch, but the seconds ticked by with more urgency than he wanted. He tried walking faster, thinking he could ignore the discomfort if he just moved quickly enough. But the pebble was still there, digging into his foot, making each step feel like a small betrayal. The feeling of frustration began to bubble up. "Why can't I just deal with this?" he muttered to himself. The irritation was no longer just about the pebble. It was a reflection of his day, his life. Everything felt like it was out of control, like small annoyances had become overwhelming obstacles. As he approached the platform, he finally stopped and looked around. He spotted a bench nearby, and for the first time that morning, he decided to sit down. His shoes were untied, but his mind felt even more tangled than the laces. He removed the shoe and gently tipped it, watching as the tiny pebble fell to the ground. It was so small, barely visible among the dirt and stones on the platform. He stared at it for a moment, then glanced at his watch again. The meeting would have to wait. James took a deep breath. The sensation in his foot was gone, but his mind was still racing. He looked around at the people rushing by, their lives moving at the same frenetic pace as his own. And then, something in the quietness of the moment clicked. The pebble had been a small inconvenience, but his resistance to it had made it feel monumental. He had been so focused on the discomfort, he had lost sight of the simple solution. Stop, remove the pebble, and continue. He smiled softly to himself. The pebble was gone, but more importantly, he realized something deeper. Life, like the pebble, would always present small discomforts. But it was his resistance to those discomforts that caused the most trouble. If he could simply accept what came his way, no matter how small, and deal with it calmly, his journey might be a little easier. James stood up, slipped his shoe back on, and walked toward the train. The world didn't feel any less busy, but for the first time that day, he felt lighter. He wasn't in such a rush anymore. Life would unfold as it did, and he would face each moment as it came, one step at a time. And as he walked through the crowded subway, the discomfort of the pebble was nothing more than a faint memory. Thanks for watching. This is Climb to Success. Your journey to success starts here.